All right, we're putting the engine in today, and we're way far along. Everybody's seen most of the video. The key was to have the engine, the center of gravity, so the transmission was dipped down. When you come in, you want to drop the front of the engine on the first mount over there, and then by hand, if the engine's still flexible, get that back engine mount into position. And once that back engine mount is in position, the engine is technically in place. You can release the hoist altogether and work on it safely. So that's what we're working on right now. This is recommended 3 people to do this. 2 people to help drive the engine into position, 1 person to run the jack. It will keep you busy. And this time we're doing it on the pavement. And if you take the front fascia off, it gives you a little more room, and you don't have to worry about damaging it and scratching it up. So I'm making good progress here, just reattaching everything. I do have to tell you about a horror story. This engine, they shipped it to me. They actually cut the main wiring harness. So I had to take all the wiring off this engine and put on the old wiring. So every single thing has had to be rewired. So the engine came fully wired, except they cut that main harness instead of unbolting it from the ECU. Making a lot of work for me. I was furious when I called them back about doing that. They gave me $100 refund. They also didn't pack the engine very well, and actually they're dismantlers. Even if they hadn't cut the main harness, they had cut through a lot of individual wires with their big cutting saw. So they didn't really do a good job looking out for the mechanic that was going to have to deal with this engine on the other end. They just ripped it out and shipped it. Oh well, unfortunate, but that's what happened. So a couple suggestions on working on this. One is get the vehicle as low to the ground as you can so your back doesn't hurt as much. That's one thing. Reattach everything on the transmission side first. And the reason is the cables are shorter. They're easier to get to. Move everything over there, and then you'll be able to get the battery box in and all that other stuff. So my goal for today is to turn the key and have it start for a split second before I hook up all the cooling and everything. I will put oil in it, though. Before I hook up the exhaust on the backside. I do want to see if it'll turn over today. That's my goal. We'll see. Check back in a little while. Well, it's 4 in the afternoon. I've been out here since 10. Okay, so drive belt's not hooked up. Cooling system's not hooked up at all. There's no fluid in the transmission. Whatever's left over in the torque converter. I did just put a fuel filter. Just put 5 quarts of oil. Everything's connected as far as I can tell electrically and intake-wise. It should turn over and it actually should start. There's the exhaust is not hooked up on the back, so when I start it, it should be very obvious that it started. The starter is connected. So, anyway, I'm gonna go give it a shot. Hold on. Alright, the engine's in. Bunch of stuff's hooked up. Exhaust isn't hooked up though. And that's it for today. I'm out of energy. It's hot out here. I want to drive my Miata on this beautiful afternoon. Enjoy the weather. Done for today. Final recap on the engine project. Everything's hooked up. Believe it or not, that new drive belt was the hardest thing to install individually. It was such a pain in the butt. Unbelievably how complicated that was. Anyway, I had to rent a special tool because there's no clearance between the chassis and the engine, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, everything's running really good. It sounds good. The cooling system's running good. Put a new air filter in. The oil looks good. Transmission. Everything's good. Man, everything is good. Now it just needs a couple small parts like the brakes Need to be redone. I got to put my new headlights in and then put the grill back on, so forth. But air conditioning works. It was a great project. Lots of fun. I guess that's it. See ya.